Okay, so in the BioBottle performance task number 1, we've got a very similar situation going on. The diagram basically shows this little ecosystem that this guy created. The only thing that ever comes in here is sunlight. It's a closed bottle. There's a lid on top. He hasn't opened this since 1972. So sunlight goes into the system, which provides energy for the plant to do photosynthesis, and that's about it. How does the energy escape the system again? Because things can't just build up and build up. Well, when cell respiration happens, an ATP is being formed by all the living things in this bottle. A side effect of cell respiration is releasing heat. So some heat will eventually be lost through the system, and so constantly, as sunlight goes in, energy goes back into the system and growth can start. Okay, so the question is, how does cell respiration contribute to the cycling of matter in this system? You guys should know that cell respiration is done by what? What kind of living things does cell respiration? Plants?
Photosynthesis.
Let me ask you this question. What do all living things need? Eric?
Air.
Air, why?
Oxygen.
Why do they need oxygen?
To breathe.
Why do we breathe?
To live.
To live. So we just go, and then we live?
Yeah.
What does the oxygen do?
Yes, XO2.
We exhale what?
Carbon.
Carbon dioxide. So what's that link between the oxygen and the carbon dioxide? Why do we need the oxygen to go in and CO2 to go out? What happens in the cellular level? What's oxygen used for by our cells? It travels through the blood to your cells, and your cells need the oxygen for what? To make something. To generate something. Do we know? Why do we breathe? For shits and giggles?
Yeah.
No. There's a good reason why we breathe, guys. Oxygen. Huh?
Or to die.
But what do we need to live? What do our cells need to live? What do we need to move and to grow and to for our cells? Okay, food. So food and oxygen together make energy. Thank you very much. So how do we make this energy? Do we make it or do we unlock it? We unlock energy that's stored in our food. It's a stored chemical energy that's in the food that we eat, okay? That energy is stored between the bonds of the molecules. Inside of the molecules, between the atoms, there's bonds. And the energy is stored there. We unlock it and we make something like ATP. You guys know what ATP is now? Sort of, kind of. ATP is the battery of the cell. There's tons of ATP in each cell. Okay? They are little batteries going around inside of the cell, plugging themselves into places so that work can be done. Okay, so you need to understand that all living things need energy to live. And therefore, all living things need to do what? In order to do what in the cells? What is that process where we make ATP? What is that called? Cellular respiration. Does that make sense? All living things need to do cellular respiration in order to unlock the energy stored in food using oxygen, and we release ATP inside of our cells. That's the picture, okay? So how does cellular respiration contribute to the cycling of matter in this bottle? Well, during cellular respiration, you guys can see that the following chemical reaction occurs. Sugar, which is food, right? Which is a high energy food. Sugar, together with oxygen, they react and they form carbon dioxide and water. So what is something that is generated or produced during cellular respiration? Carbon dioxide and water. And how does cellular respiration contribute to the cycling of matter in the system, in the bottle? Well, carbon dioxide is released into the air, which can now again be absorbed by the plant. That's it. You guys got it? That's for question number 5. Question number 5. Okay? And for number 4, which organisms undergo cell respiration? I just told you. What living things undergo cell respiration? All right, so specifically in the bottle, which living things in the bottle undergo cell respiration? Do we know what living things there are in the bottle? Plants and microorganisms. Okay, the same thing in this bottle. In the soil, there is organic matter from the dead and decaying plant, the leaves and stuff that are dying and decaying. Okay, it's being decomposed by bacteria. Bacteria is a type of microorganism. There might be some other tiny little bug-like things, single cell, animal cells, whatever, amoebas, I don't know. But there's definitely some bacteria in there. We know that for sure. Different kinds of bacteria. And they will also help to cycle the matter. They're gonna break down some nutrients that were stored in the dead plants cells, and they're gonna put that back into the soil, and the plant is gonna take up some of those nutrients. And so there's like a cycling of the matter all the time. So which of them do cell respiration? You guys said all. What are there in the jar? It's plants and microorganisms. Okay, let's go up to question number 3 and 2. How does energy in the system change as a result of photosynthesis? How does energy in this system change as a result of photosynthesis? Okay, so now we have to talk about types of energy. Photosynthesis uses what type of energy and then turns it into what? Here we have different types of energy. Please keep in mind, radiant energy and light energy are actually one and the same. Light energy is a form of radiant energy. So let's talk about the types of energy, and I'll give you some examples of each. We've got thermal energy, which is heat. Okay, a kettle heats up when you give it some electrical input. The water gets hot, it boils. The tires on a car get hot when you're braking. When you step on the brake pedals, the tires get hot, or the wheels at least. Radiant energy. It's everything on the electromagnetic spectrum, which are waves emitted by the sun, for example. Light is an example of radiant energy. Do you think this is involved in our system? What goes into that bottle? What did I tell you? What's the only thing that goes into that system? Light energy. It's a form of radiant energy. Okay, so this is involved. Nixon, you got it? Justin? This is involved in our system, radiant energy. That energy will be converted into what? Is it going to be heat? Does the bottle heat up? Is that what gives the plants their energy? Or is there something else at play? Let's take a look at some more things over here. Chemical energy. Examples include batteries, what batteries store, fuel, such as petroleum or whatever. There's a lot of energy stored in fuel. Chemical energy is when there's energy stored in the bonds of a molecule, energy stored between those atoms in their bonds. Okay? Does food have chemical energy stored? Does sugar have energy stored between the bonds of the sugar molecules? Or the atoms? Say again? Right, so chemical energy does have energy stored between atoms in their bonds. So sugar, does that have energy stored between the carbons? We break them up, carbon dioxide is released and ATP is released. So is energy involved there?
Yeah.
All right, so that's chemical energy. I gave you some examples: food, petroleum, and batteries. Okay. Nuclear energy is that energy that gets released when we fuse two hydrogen atoms and form helium, or we take a radioactive element and we split apart the atom and particles shoot out, such as protons or neutrons shoot out. This is not really going to be in our system, right? This is not really applicable to our system. This is stuff at like nuclear power plants or nuclear weapons, okay? Electrical energy. Electrons run through a wire in a current. It has the potential to do work. Does the plant zap you when you touch it? So do you think electrical energy is involved in our system?
No, of course not.
Gravitational energy. Something places an object in a position where it can be pulled down by the gravity of the Earth and suddenly have energy, like kinetic energy. It's falling, it can now move, it can crash, making a sound, or hit something, deforming it. So basically it's a kind of the energy of where an object is and how gravity affects it. Okay. The other one is mechanical energy. This is the energy of movement. Okay. So is our plant moving? Maybe are little things in the cells moving? Sure. There's definitely some kind of movement, right? There's water going through the plant. But now my question is, let's go take a look at the question specifically. As a result of photosynthesis, how does the energy in the system change? How does the energy in the system change as a result of photosynthesis? Again, what does photosynthesis do? Takes carbon dioxide and water. Through sunlight, using sunlight, it turns these things into sugar and oxygen.
That's in classroom, right?
I'm sorry?
Is that in classroom?
Yeah, go to classwork. You'll see it at the top. Under performance tasks, it's number 1 bio bottle. So photosynthesis uses sunlight. It's a type of radiant energy. It converts it into which of those types that we mentioned there? That's all I want you guys to say to me. During photosynthesis, the plant is able to absorb the radiant energy from the sun and convert it into stored what? Which one? Does it convert it into nuclear energy, electrical energy, gravitational, chemical, or mechanical energy? Or thermal energy? What does the plant do during photosynthesis? Uses sunlight to make photosynthesis in order to make what? Oxygen and a large carbon molecule called? No. Look at your equation there, guys. What does it make? C6H12O6. What is that? Sugar, glucose. All right. What is glucose? Is glucose thermal energy? Does it store chemical energy? Does it store nuclear energy, electrical energy, gravitational energy, mechanical energy? What would the glucose be? You think it's stored chemical energy? You think it's mechanical? Glucose is something that moves, storing energy in its movement. And so how do we unlock the movement energy in glucose if you think that way? Through cell respiration, break apart the glucose, and then the movement gives something else energy. Come on, guys, you're half awake. I'm gonna need more focus here, more brain power. Give me 30%, not 5%. Focus on the equation, okay? I'm not going to say if you're right or wrong because I'm not giving you the answer. I want you to come up with it by yourself. So, during photosynthesis, we use sunlight in order to make a large molecule called sugar, as well as oxygen. Sugar is a fuel, just like battery. It stores something, right? What does it store? Again, is it thermal, light, chemical, nuclear, electrical, gravitational, mechanical? You guys got it? Let's move on. So you're going to write that down. During photosynthesis, or as a result of photosynthesis, this type of energy is converted by the plant and turned into, boom, that's it. Or stored as something else. All right. In order to do number 2, I think we should do number 1 first. Were you all able to edit this picture? You click on it, click on the edit button, you use the text box, you fill in what goes here. So first of all, sunlight enters the bottle, okay? But then the plant produces what into the jar? The plant produces what that goes into the jar, into the system?
Energy goes.
Wait, so sun energy goes in. The plant uses that energy to produce what?
Glucose.
And, okay, which goes into the air and then is taken up by the microorganisms. And then the microorganisms in turn do cell respiration and they release what?
Carbon dioxide.
Back into the air, which is then again taken up into the plant. So, now let's look at question number 2. You guys just edit this, fill in those gases, and then we're going to get to this one. There's something here that's not so intuitive. I have to explain how photosynthesis works first in order for you to do number 2. Okay, so here we have number 2. They ask about the location of 2 substances before photosynthesis and after photosynthesis. The 2 substances are carbon and oxygen. So let's take a look at what photosynthesis is. Right here. In photosynthesis, sunlight hits the pigments, chlorophyll, that are inside of these organelles called chloroplasts, that are inside of the cells, that are inside of leaves. Basically, it's the substance that makes plants green. That pigment is inside of something called a granum, which is inside of these chloroplasts, okay? The pigment gets excited, very excited when the sunlight strikes it. Goes, whoa, wow, we have a lot of energy, oh my goodness. And it gives some of that energy to water particles. The water particles are like, what am I supposed to do with all this energy? Are you crazy? Don't give me this energy. I'm getting ripped in half. Boom! The water splits into 2. It gets broken apart. Its oxygen goes this way and its hydrogen goes that way. Okay? So that energy from the sunlight is focused into this pigment called chlorophyll. During that action, okay, water is broken apart. The oxygen is simply gonna diffuse out. It's a gas. Where does the oxygen go? Out of the leaf, out into the atmosphere. That's it. Oxygen's gone. Where did the oxygen come from again? Water particles that got into the leaf. How? Well, through the roots, of course. Plants, they don't drink, they don't have a mouth. They absorb water through their roots. It goes through their xylem, which are like their vasculature, almost like their veins. It goes through the branches into the leaves. The leaves actually have veins, and it goes boom, boom, boom into the cells of the leaf. That's where the water comes from. The water is split up into oxygen and hydrogen. The hydrogen is picked up by an electron carrier molecule called NADP+, or just NADP. It picks up that hydrogen and it's going to take it deeper into the chloroplast, where we've got another cycle, just like in cell respiration where we had those carbons cycling around and around. And a similar cycle occurs here where the leaf basically takes in a lot of carbon dioxide and strings the carbons together in a glucose molecule. It needs 6 carbon dioxides to form 1 glucose, 1 sugar molecule. Okay? All of that because of the energy that this cycle can get from hydrogen, where the water was split up. Hydrogen provides this energy. Okay? And at the same time, ATP is also formed, but that's besides the point. Okay? So, that question was, where is carbon and where is oxygen before photosynthesis? And the second part is, where is carbon and where is oxygen after photosynthesis? Before photosynthesis, where do we find oxygen? Right there. Okay? After photosynthesis, where do we find oxygen? Okay. Before photosynthesis, where do we find carbon? How does carbon enter this equation? Where is it found? Its location in the jar. carbon dioxide. Where is the carbon dioxide found? In the jar. So carbon is found in the carbon dioxide of the jar, in the gas, in the air of the jar. And where is carbon found after photosynthesis? This is our last question, and then we're gonna, I'll give you some time to type everything up. Where is carbon found after photosynthesis? The carbons were strung along into a large molecule of sugar. And so it is found where? Aha, okay. Think about what the plant does with that sugar. So this is photosynthesis. So before we have water, carbon dioxide. After we have oxygen in the air, and we have sugar. Okay? That's it. Thanks, Leah. This is for number 1. Bio bottle performance task.